Hello, Admiral Thrawn here, doing the preview video for Age of Petty Kings, a mod I'm developing for Medieval 2 Total War. This is going to be a preview video for the Dornish and the Dornish rosters and the Riverland rosters. This should be pretty fun. It should be the second to last preview video that I make, with the last one containing the mercenary units. And so let's jump right in. I will be starting off the preview battle by just sort of quickly showing you the units in pause mode, and then I'll play through the battle, and yeah, so here we go. First off, my army here is House Dane. These were by far the most requested faction for 2.0, and so I have included them. Ask and ye shall receive. Their main unit here are the Knights of the Dawn. They're these elite Dornish heavy cavalry, which here are backed up by their lighter lancers, who can sort of help out. By the way, so House Dane, their sigil is the white star and white sword on a purple background. House Dane of Starfall, which is a sub-cadet branch and all, they have, I switched their colors just because we don't know their exact sigil, so yeah, just if you're wondering what those are. Then they'll have their Torrentine Spearmen, the Torrentine being the river that is next to where Starfall is, their castle. They'll have their archers, and they'll have their swordsmen. I'd say that I changed the Dornish rosters the least in the 2.0, just because I think they're pretty good the way they are right now. This here is House Dryland. Now, basically, when A World of Ice and Fire came out, the reference guidebook, we learned a lot about the different houses that were currently in Dorne, one of which was House Dryland, ruling over the central kingdom around where Hellholt is today. And so, since I already liked my Volmont sigil, and since Volmont is a house that I completely made up, I basically assigned their sigil to House Dryland. So this is now a reference to House Dryland. They were wiped out by Nymeria when she invaded, and so yeah, if you're wondering. But they'll control they'll basically be Uller, but for the new expansion. And anyways, they'll have their Brimstone Knights, which are pretty good cavalry. They will have their good Brimstone Raiders. These are excellent cavalry archers. They're very nice. Then their Lancers. Basically, they will be a cavalry, pretty much an all-cavalry army, kind of like the Dustins in the north. They will have access to archers and spearmen, but they simply do not have the population to support many swordsmen, and even if they did, the deserts are just so large and horrible that there's really no way they could actually march an army across on foot. Anyways, House Ironwood is basically sort of the opposite. They do have their Boneway Lancers and their Boneway Knights, which are all pretty nice, but on the other hand, they are also the one Dornish faction to have a central infantry line here, these Boneway Guards, which are very good halberdiers. They're good for basically holding off any of the Andals attempting to invade from the north. They'll also have their archers and swordsmen and spearmen down here. Like I said, pretty standard. Didn't really make many changes to the Dornish rosters. And then the Martells will basically be the same. They'll have lancers, knights, and then swordsmen, archers, and spearmen. The Dornish will also start off with a complete full stack of elite Rhoynar units, because this takes place during Nymeria's invasion. And so they'll have Nymeria as an elite general and a whole bunch of Rhoynar. However, they will never be able to retrain those units. And so eventually your stack will basically be depleted, and you'll have to rely on units from conquered territories as well as your own Greenblood units. However, the Rhoynar, I will be showing them off in a later video alongside the mercenaries and other faith militant stuff and whatnot. I said the whatnot, sorry. Anyways, on to House Blackwood. These here are Raven's Teeth. These are they should be a very fun unit. I nerfed longbowmen all around, except for these guys. These guys are still the totally OP vanilla longbowmen, but they're also really expensive, and there's not many of them, and they have high upkeep, so this basically should nerf them enough that it's more reasonable. But yeah, the Raven's Teeth are essentially an ultimate kill weapon of awesomeness. You may recall the Raven's Teeth are basically what defeated the Blackfires at Redgrass Field when Bryden Rivers took his Raven's Teeth up on the hill and killed the Daemon Blackfire. So yeah, they're really good. Then they'll also be backed up by some sort of generic riders, as well as Red Fork Levies, Red Fork Longbowmen, which are good, but they're not nearly as powerful as they were in vanilla. Yeah, basically the Raven's Teeth are the only unit in the 2.0 that has access to wirewood longbows. These white longbows here. They're made of wirewood, and they're really, really good. Everybody else is just using regular old archer longbow things. And finally, they'll have their Red Fork infantry, or men-at-arms. And yeah, that's the Blackwoods. The Brackens will have pretty good cavalry. They'll have their excellent knights. They'll have their riders. They'll have a really good refreshment on the knights. They'll have their spearmen levies. They'll have halberdiers as well. They're pretty good. No pikemen here. They will have archers and spearmen, but basically the Brackens will be relying on their heavy cavalry and their halberdiers for the most part. House Mud will have their Riverstone Knights, which are quite good, as well as their levies. They'll have pikemen. Unlike the other factions of the Riverlands, the House Mud will have access to pikemen, and as well as heavy knights. Just because we know the Muds were the ones who were able to resist the Andals for so long, so it makes sense that they would have access to some of those sort of Andal countering units like pikemen and knights. They'll have archers and men-at-arms. And finally, there's House Crab of Cracklaw Point. I've thoroughly nerfed them, just because it doesn't make sense that a tiny little underpopulated region of Cracklaw Point would actually be able to support a powerful army. They will have their raiders, spearmen. They'll have very good longbowmen, and they'll have swordsmen, but basically the House Crab will be more of a skirmish faction, and they'll be a good challenge faction for players who want to try their hand at something more difficult. But they will not have a terribly powerful or diverse roster, so they'll need to rely on their conquered enemies for most of their units. So anyways, those are the Riverland and Dornish rosters. I hope you enjoyed that. I'd say these are the ones that I've put the least amount of changes into. I didn't want to thoroughly overhaul them. I thought they were pretty good the way they were. And also I want to get this done. I mean, I think when I did the North, I was all hyped about doing all this, but by now, I'm going through finals week right now, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, so I was like, yeah, I'm just going to get this done. And anyways, let us start the battle. This is the end of the news and analysis portion. I'll be talking a bit more about some random stuff, but if you want, you can click away and do whatever you want. I don't know, like watch porn or something. Whatever you want to do. I'm not going to judge. Anyways, I'm going to be moving in here. I'm going to charge my Knights of the Dawn right down the center there. Going to send these guys in to join. And their longbowmen have already wreaked bloody havoc on my troops. I still need to rebalance a lot of the units. So when I say that I've nerfed their longbowmen, I actually still have to do that, but it will have been done by the time that 2.0 comes out. So they're probably going to massacre most of my army in these next couple of minutes. As for the plans this summer, I will, as I mentioned before, I will be working on an indie game, which should be fun. It's going to be called War on Terror. And I'll be releasing it first on IndieDB and Desera, and then hopefully later I will be able to get it released onto Steam. But we'll see if anybody actually buys it. If nobody buys it, then I'll just sort of say, and just, go from there. But if people actually are interested and they buy it, nod, nod, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, then I will try and get onto green lights. It should be fun. For those of you wondering what it will actually be about, I would describe it as a decision-making simulator, in which you will play as the United States, and you'll be given a series of, essentially, time will go by, and you'll be given a series of events saying, guess what, ISIS is attacked here, what do you want to do, and you'll have various options to respond, and yeah, and then basically you will, then that'll affect how the game plays out. So kind of like an interactive and very detailed choose-your-own-adventure novel, and it'll be based around the war in the Middle East, and so essentially it's your chance to redo the past 10 years of American foreign policy and see if you can do better. Hint, hint, you probably can't. But yeah, it's worth a try though. So it should be interesting, and yeah, I'm going to be developing that this summer. I will first be finishing this. Obviously, I want to get this done, get it out of the way. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be up to. For the next couple days, I'll be taking finals, and that will be a lot of fun. Hooray. So yeah, wish me luck. And apart from that, my army seems to be doing pretty well against House Crab because they're rather weak at this point. My knights especially have done quite well, running down basically all of their units. And yeah, they've broken. They're gone. They're leaving. So, yeah, and their general is now dead, so I can now sweep my knights around the flank and hit House Mud as well. So, you Knights of the Dawn, I'm going to send them after these Riverstone Knights here. They've engaged the Brimstone Raiders, which are the elite Oler skirmish cavalry, and I don't want that. I want these guys to stay alive so they can support me. So I'm going to send these guys in here to do the fighting for them. And my general fallen, good. And yeah. As you can see, I've included a bunch of new settlements for House Dane, which you might be able to guess from the sigils here. They've gotten the House Fowler, as well as... And another general is dead. Well, that's not good, that's one of my allies. House Fowler, House Blackmont, as well as the hilariously named House Manwitty, which is, yes, it is a real house, and they actually have a really badass sigil. I just don't get why they're called that. It just seems like the silliest name you could possibly name a house. It's like, it would be like if you guys are familiar with Quentin Ball from the Blackfire Rebellion, it would be like if you had a brother named Harry. It's just like, why would you call your house House Manwitty? But anyways, they still have a cool sigil. They are the black skull on, they're the skull on black there. You see the crown skull. They're from the Castle of Kingsgrave, which is pretty awesome. And they're really cool, but why are they called House Manwitty? Anyways, so I had a nice hearty chuckle about that. But until then, we are chasing down these guys. They've got more Riverstone Knights there. Either way, this isn't just total chaos here in the battlefield right now. We're doing okay, but it looks like the Blackwoods and the Brackens have been able to wipe us out pretty handily. Yeah. Man, it seems pretty even, actually. Their Raven's Teeth is getting engaged with our infantry, so that's good. And let's see here. I'm sort of sweeping in along the flank. See if I can take out these Midland Riders here. They're not very good. They're pretty weak. They're not super weak. They're better than most Outriders, but they're still non-Knight cavalry, and most non-Knights in this game are relatively not good. There's a couple okay ones, such as the Arryns have a pretty good basic cavalry unit, but it's still really nothing that could stand up to an armored knight. Because at this point, knights really did rule the battlefield. And so I've got my huge mass of kill everything cavalry, and I should probably control group these guys. And let's take out these Riverstone Knights here. That's pretty nice. Apparently you can control-click and it selects everything of that unit type, which is something I did not know about and is rather nice. So, yeah. This is basically just a massive bloodbath here across the battlefield. I'm not sure if I'm going to play through the whole battle. I usually quit these after I realize that it's going to take longer than I thought it would. I think that it was not really worth it for me to play through the entire battle during the Lannister and Stark preview. But anyways, you sort of get the idea, though, of how these units work. How I probably should have guarded my flank there against these guys. And yeah, that's mostly it. That's the Dorne and the Riverlands. Check it back soon for when I'm not currently taking finals, and I will show off the preview video for Mercenaries, Faith Militant, and Rhoynar, and possibly others. It depends on what I think of. I've got a couple units that are not actually mercenaries, but they're sort of trained like mercenaries. For example, you will have the ability, if you have large towns and cities, you can recruit merchants, which are, they aren't technically mercenaries, but they're basically somewhat worse men-at-arms that are somewhat more expensive but are free upkeep. And so if you run out of men-at-arms, you can recruit your merchants from the city. They basically have good armor and arms, but they're really poorly trained because they're really just rich people who have weapons. And as you can probably guess, they are kind of suck at fighting. But either way, though, They're a nice addition to have to your armies, and so it's probably worth keeping them around. And I'm probably going to add some other units like that, where they're available to all factions, and they're sort of they require something besides just having the house building to recruit, like some sort of special thing, like maybe like sailors from a port that can you can recruit sailors or something. So anyways, yeah, expect that preview sometime in the next few weeks. Admiral Thrawn signing off.